All right, let's welcome back to Straight Fire Lakers insider. He's worked around many spots. He's currently the beautiful life, running his own business. Jovan Buha, how are you, man?
I'm doing well, man. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, and this is a great time of year to not have a boss to answer to because guess
It
what? It's the
is.
holidays. It's like, oh, Thanksgiving. I don't have to go to practice or shoot around. I'll skip that today. But you got a good team right on your hands right now. These Lakers are nasty. I feel like a lot of people are surprised. I'm not that surprised. Are you by this start?
No, I mean, the only part that's been surprising has been how many injuries they've had. And so going into the start of the season, I felt they had a little bit of an easier schedule compared to years past, where you look at they've had like a murderer's row to start each of the last few seasons where they're playing all the best teams in the league, sometimes on the road. And it's like, but because they're the Lakers, because the NBA likes to feature them on national TV, they always start with like the heavy hitters to start the season. So looking at the schedule, I was like, okay, it's a relatively manageable schedule. But then you hear, obviously, going into the season immediately, LeBron is going to be out for training camp and the preseason into the start of the season. It's like, okay, maybe if it's a few games, they can get by without him. But then you have Luka miss a few games. You have Austin Reaves miss a few games. Gabe Vincent, who is technically the fifth starter going into the season,
Wow.
he ends up getting injured. He's out for a while. Marcus Smart has missed a couple games. DeAndre Ayton. So like you just go down the list. They're top five right now in the NBA in terms of games missed due to injury. So for
Oh,
them to also have what, and like the schedule ended up being actually harder with like Portland being better than expected, and several of the teams they've played have actually, I think overachieved or just been surprises to start the season. So like they played a top 10 hardest schedule in the NBA right now, and they've been top five in games missed due to injury. So that combination to me, I am a bit surprised by the 11-4 start, but I had them as the 4 seed going into the season. I did my season preview and like my West power rankings. I had them fourth. So right now, I think they're largely in line with that. And really, now that LeBron is back, I think the ceiling, especially offensively, is just at a whole other level. We saw it last night, 12 assists, fewest shots of his career in a game that he finished, which I thought was something that flew under the radar.
wow.
Like only took 7 shots, which is, again, the fewest number in a game he did not get injured in. So like there was a lot to like last night.
I mean, it is interesting. So many things get unlocked by the LeBron thing, but we'll come back to him in a sec. So I didn't realize top five in the NBA in games missed due to injury so far for the Lakers. That's an
Mhm.
insane stat, Jovan, because everybody in the league is hurt. I mean, I think Brian Windhorst was the one who broke it down. If you look at last year's All Star team, I think like 60% of the guys are injured. Like
Yeah.
the league is going through an injury epidemic. Kerr talked about it, and yet the Lakers are top five. Wow.
Yeah, no, they've had a really rough go of it to start, but yeah, I mean, that's a whole other conversation because I do agree with Steve Kerr here that I think they have to look at shortening the schedule, and it does mess with the record books and just comparing. We've always had 82 games, so you can compare the 96 Bulls to the 2017 Warriors, and then potentially the 2026 Thunder, and like there's at least
Stop.
we'll see. There's at
Stop.
least
Come
a
on.
bit of continuity across the
Yeah.
eras and the generations, but now it's like I don't know. I think that the game is played at such a speed, and with like I don't know if you've seen some of these clips from the 90s where and of course you could cherry pick clips, but like
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
was one play with Charles Barkley posting up against the Jazz where they enter the ball into Barkley, and there's some different defensive rules at the time. So with doubling and zoning up, it was a little different, but like Barkley is just dribbling for legitimately 10 seconds in a row, just posting up, dribbling. No one is moving. And then he like kicks the ball back out. Someone helps off for some unknown reason, and someone gets an open three. And it's like this is a completely different game where these dudes are flying around, they're cutting, they're setting these off-ball screens. The floor is spaced beyond the three-point arc, and like I just don't know if the human body is set up to play at that level of speed, and like the pace has been up and guys are jumping harder than they used to, and it's just it's yeah, I think that they're reaching a breaking point here where enough dude. I mean, we just added Wemby and Giannis to the list of
Yeah.
like those are two top five guys in MVP. Wemby might now get Costa his second defensive player of the year award just because
Oh,
of the injury.
I didn't even think about that. So wait, obviously the owners are going to say, we don't want to give up games. So what if an alternative option is we're going to expand rosters and we're going to add, and you know what? You guys just have to play more guys. Because I did notice, and I love what Redick's done, but I feel like around the league, more teams are employing deeper benches now. You're seeing guys on the 2 deep play like 10 guys. And I was shocked, like Bronny was getting like significant minutes. Now I know that was partially due to injuries. Yeah, he started a game. It's like maybe teams just, if we add a roster spot, do you think that that's something that could be in play, or does that have too much to do with the salary cap and all that?
It gets a little complicated with the contracts. I think, there is something to the scarcity model of if you cut it down to 58 games.
No, they're not doing that.
Every team twice. You could make an argument that, if you charge more for tickets and merchandising, and then I think the ratings would go up. Undoubtedly. Like, I don't think there's really an argument against it of if there were 2 basketball games a week instead of, sometimes teams rarely play 5, but like 3 to 4 is the average. If you're a Lakers fan and the Lakers are playing Monday and Friday, you're going to be locked in on Monday and Friday. But when it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, you feel like you could take a night off, and especially if they're playing the Utah Jazz, unless LeBron is back.
That was a fun game to watch. I don't know.
It was a fun game. Utah's fun, but I just think that there is something to. There are back end ways, I think, to make the money up, and especially like part of it is just if the guys are healthier. If you're getting 56 out of 58 games from Giannis rather than 56 out of 82, I don't know. Like I think that could be a more
58, dude. That's chopping,
or 65 maybe
24. I mean, so not only is that a lot of revenue lost, but you're shrinking the season by at least a month, right? Or are you saying you just keep the season at the same length?
You probably keep it similar.
Okay. I mean, what do you do for TV? The TV deals, all of a sudden get wacky. I mean, there's just a lot.
It's not going to happen. It's not happening.
So what's the more likely?
I'm not quite sure. I think it's above my pay grade.
Did Kerr float anything? Because I didn't see the full interview.
I don't think so. He floated a reduced number of games, but I just don't at this point. Yeah, you're playing with the owner's money. I just don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, that seems unlikely. All right, let's quickly go. One more thing before LeBron. I think JJ Redick has been freaking amazing this season. Every time I look at him, they're throwing some junk defense. There's a zone here or there. The offensive spacing seems perfect. I'm not gassing. I don't know Redick personally. I just feel like the Lakers, other than a no-show against OKC and a no-show against Atlanta, which was the first game of the road trip, and then I guess you could toss in the Portland one. Like every game, the Lakers have looked awesome. Now you're up close watching them every night. Is Redick doing things significantly differently?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's really grown as a second-year coach, and there also is a level of continuity here, right, with him and the players where he just didn't have as a first-year head coach. You're coming in, there's a newness element to it, but then also literally a first-time head coach at the NBA level. So I think he was getting his feet wet and figuring things out. And I thought last season we saw some growth in the second half of the season compared to the beginning of the season. And I think that has continued into year 2. But I think that the biggest thing has been the resiliency from this group. Because, if we go back to how many games that they've missed and seeing them win without Luka, like they won a game without Luka, Austin, and LeBron in Portland, right? And they've won without Luka, they've won without Austin. They obviously were winning without LeBron before he returned. So this is a group that going back since I started covering them in 2020, when LeBron would be out, it basically would be a loss. Or if AD was out, sure, they would have a tough time winning those games, or maybe they'd like tread water and be around 500. Now they're winning these games at like a 65-70% clip. And so I think JJ and the coaching staff deserve a lot of credit. Like I just did my 1 month-ish awards ballot, and I had him second in coach of the year because.
Wait, let me guess first. Is it OKC guy?
No, JB Bickerstaff in Detroit.
Detroit, yes, obviously.
Yeah, like I think that they've taken a big leap this season, but I think JJ should be in that conversation with again, the injuries they've had. They're in the West. It's treacherous, and they've still won.
Let me ask one more. Austin Reaves. So I had this hot take on the herd that Reaves is definitely an all-star because this year they have 16 Americans, 2 teams of 8. And he's a top 16. Then I got a little crazy and I was like, he probably could argue he's top 6. Obviously, he's not top 6 American, but Reaves is playing out of his mind. I don't think he'll keep scoring 28 and 8, averages for much longer now that LeBron's back. But what are you seeing in Austin Reaves? Do you think he's an all-star this year? There are a lot of guys hurt, like a Tatum, a Halliburton, and frankly, LeBron missed a lot of games. I don't know if he can be an all-star.
Yeah, he's gonna have a tough time making the awards teams, right? With All NBA and MVP, and like last year, he was sixth in MVP voting, sixth in All NBA voting, made All NBA second team. LeBron, that is, and like obviously now he missed the first 14 games, so he can only miss two more games the rest of the way to still be eligible for several of these awards. With Austin, I had him right now. Again, I just went through all-star teams and all NBA teams. I had him third team all NBA. And
Austin Reaves?
Yeah, I had him as an all-star. So I agree. Well, I agree with you. Now, that was a snapshot of where things are at right now.
Yes,
where will they go in the future? Like looking at last night, I thought it was interesting that he was third on the team in shot attempts, and it wasn't even LeBron second. It was actually DeAndre Ayton second, Luka first, of course. But I mean, Austin did get to the free throw line a lot, so I guess if you factor that in, he probably was second overall in like total shot attempts. But 26 points last night, only one assist. So we did see a bit of a shift of he was more in scorer mode and less in playmaker mode. It was more LeBron and Luka running the offense in the half court. But I think Austin, with his downhill ability, like I think that's been one of the things that just doesn't get talked about enough is like he's just cooking dudes one-on-one. Like he's getting by them. He's getting into the paint. He's got a really good floater, really good mid-range game. Also really good at stopping, pump faking, drawing the foul, getting to the free throw line pretty consistently. So I think he, as of right, if we're doing the voting right now, I think he's an all-star, and I think he's in that All-NBA third team conversation. Will that sustain? Very skeptical in the All NBA conversation, but I think especially if LeBron ends up having to rest back to backs or like play fewer minutes, there is a pathway to Austin getting in as like a back end all star.
Yeah, I totally agree. Now, one other guy, Jake LaRavia, you were the one, I'm pretty sure, who was championing the move back then. I think people were like, Jake LaRavia. So are you doing a victory lap, and how does it feel?
I am. And I remember talking about it on the herd with you. And,
yes.
I just did a scouting report on him and did a video breakdown. And I was like, this dude's good. And he's kind of been flying under the radar. He's been in Memphis and Sacramento and like the not the big glamour markets of the league. But when he had gotten an opportunity in those limited runs over his first three seasons, I thought he looked pretty good. And so I think this year he's really the defense has been the big thing for me, where the shot comes and goes a bit, right? Like he has some nights where he's 1 for 5 or whatever, but the defense has been something that's been very consistent. And for a group that has struggled at times defensively, I think he's been a nice, steady presence off the bench. And then he's this connecting piece offensively where I thought you already saw the synergy with him and LeBron, where he's like relocating and cutting and doing all these smart things offensively. And then he's also a guy who's going to move the ball. And like, he's not selfish. He's not if I have an open shot, I'm going to necessarily take it. So like, I think he's a guy that's been a very nice, like Swiss Army knife off of their bench. So yeah, you know what? I will take the W.
Yes. And not to gas up every Laker, but I'll be honest, DeAndre Ayton, the Blazers couldn't dump him fast enough. Phoenix was regretting the contract before the ink was dry. And now DeAndre Ayton looks like a capable guy. I mean, he's a little clunky at times. I don't think he's a great fit against, say, OKC. The speed just seemed to overwhelm him. But against most of the league, he's a serviceable center. He's a huge upgrade over Jackson Hayes, who now we get in small doses, which is perfect. I mean, DeAndre Ayton, honestly, people laughed when the Lakers signed him.
They did. And I believe he's at 4, 20, and 10 games this season. I'm quickly looking it up here. Like that is not something that Jackson Hayes, excuse me. He's at 6, 20, and 10 games this season. So he's given them a level of stability on the interior that I think, to your earlier point, I thought he laid an egg in the Atlanta and OKC games. And he is a guy that I do feel like when the group isn't quite as connected on a given night or isn't all like mentally there, that he can kind of fall into that and be a little susceptible with that. But outside of those two games in particular, I think he's been really, really solid all season. And I think I go back to that Spurs game where they beat the Spurs in crunch time. And I thought he outplayed Wemby for the course of that game, and especially in crunch time. And like that was not something I was anticipating going to the season. This dude's making $8 million. By any measure, he has outkicked that salary, and he has a player option for next season. It's going to be really interesting to see what ends up happening next offseason. Obviously, he's got to stay healthy. He's got to remain bought in. But I think the big thing has been like he's just accepted I'm going to screen and roll hard and either finish with lobs or layups around the basket, or I'm going to be a short roll playmaker or take that little jumper. But he's not getting many post ups. They're not calling his number that often.
Love that.
and like he's bought in, right? So
Yeah.
I think he deserves a lot of credit for he's done a lot of the dirty work this year for LA, and I think that's been a big part of their success.
Okay, so now we can go to LeBron, and again, it's one game. The sample size is tiny, and they play Utah again this weekend. But I think you hit it early. I didn't realize that 7 shots was the fewest of his career for a game he finished. I watched him closely. So basically, they'd inbound the ball, and if they were all over Luka, LeBron would take a few dribbles, then give it to Luka, and then just kind of go off to the side. And it's not like he was pouting. Now they're winning. It's Utah. But he seemed totally content to just like kind of watch and facilitate and work his way in. So my hot take would be, well, shucks, if this is the new LeBron and this is going to be him for, I don't know, much of the season, maybe this is a different role. You start thinking next year, you would love to keep this LeBron. But I mean, maybe he'd be willing to play for a lesser salary as opposed to go somewhere else and try to score 40 a game or 25 a game. I don't want to go too overboard, but if this is LeBron segueing into, hey, this is the new me, that's a huge unlock for the Lakers this year and next year.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And it was just it was a different LeBron than we've ever seen in the sense of how much he was off the ball. I wonder how much of it was just first game back,
Possible.
like especially that first half, I thought he was really selective in picking his spots and, very deferential. And then he started to be more assertive in the second half. But yeah, I mean, 12 assists in 29 minutes is just remarkable, and nothing felt unsustainable with what he was doing. It was a lot of like DeAndre Ayton said it after the game that there was a couple of those he didn't know LeBron saw him, and he didn't even know he was open on the roll or on the cut. And he was like, LeBron passed me into being open. So I think what his connection with DeAndre Ayton already, he had 4 or 5 assists to him, a couple of assists to Jake Aravia on driving kicks, Gabe Vincent on driving kicks. Like he just was doing everything the Lakers needed. And I think there'd been an element that they had been missing where we saw it, especially against OKC. They were trapping and blitzing Luka. Luka gets rid of the ball, and the Lakers couldn't really capitalize on those 4-on-3 situations. Now you add LeBron either as the passer or as a cutter or as even a weak side shooter. Like he could do so many things offensively that he can shape shift. And that's where like I think he's in a tough position because looking at Luka, Austin, and LeBron, all 3 guys are best with the ball in their hands. But LeBron is the most versatile off of the ball. So naturally, you're not going to tell Luka like cut or just be a shooter. You're not going to tell like Austin maybe a little bit more, but LeBron is the guy who could do everything basically for their offense. So I think naturally he has to be more the guy screen, roll, cut, spot up. Like that's going to be more of his role when Luka's out there. Now, we also saw when Luka's off the floor, it's now the Austin LeBron show, and LeBron could do a bit more offensively. So I think it's a really nice luxury to have if you're the Lakers. And I think this is going to elevate their offense to being, they're already top 5 in half court possessions offensively. I think we're talking about like top 3 or maybe even in the conversation for 1.
So defensively, there are going to be some questions, but I mean, just hypothetically, a matchup against the Minnesota Timberwolves in the playoffs, as we saw last year, the Lakers didn't have any real games together, but I think McDaniels guarded Luka, and they put, I believe, Ant on Reaves, and Reaves kind of struggled to get his shot. I don't think there's many defenders who can lock up Reaves like Ant or like a Lou Dort. I think Reaves. I think LeBron at this point, would you say he's deferential to Reaves, who can create his shot better than LeBron now? I know that might sound.
I yes and no, right? Like I think LeBron, the luxury for LeBron is he can pick his spots a little bit more, and he doesn't have to do as much as he had to in the past. But I think he will be able to. Like I think I don't know why people had like collective amnesia about again, this dude just finished sixth in MVP voting. Like,
Yeah, I know.
and you know, I don't really know what else to say other than he was clearly a top 10 player this season. And yes, last season.
Yeah.
And dealing with the sciatica, that's going to be a factor, and that might cost him future games or force him to play fewer minutes. But he still is incredibly, like, potentially the most skilled player we've ever seen in NBA history. And even if he's not quite the same level of athlete, he's still an elite athlete. And I thought there was a couple of times he got downhill where you saw him turn on the jets, and like he can still hit that turbo button at a very high level. So I think he might be more deferential to Austin just in terms of conserving his energy.
Yeah.
I don't think it's so much as like Austin has surpassed him or Austin's like a better player or offensive player necessarily. I just think it's more so like if LeBron can be the number 3 and just do a little bit less and then even do more defensively, which is where LA really needs him. That's where I think, it's kind of a win-win.
But the days of like, hey, shot clock's at 6, LeBron, can you get us a shot? Like, I think we're done with that. And
Probably,
Reaves, I think in that scenario could do more. I just when you look at how the Lakers shape up against the rest of the West, I got to be honest, the West is kind of surprising. I don't think many people had Dallas being this bad. They are not a playoff team, even if AD comes back. Kyrie's not coming back. But forget the Pelicans. Paper Clips, as we record right now, are 4-10. I mean, the West is a little bit weaker than I thought. I mean, nobody thinks this is going to be sustainable for the Suns. So really, we're looking at like 6 teams in the West. Would you say, Jovan?
Yeah.
Thunder, Nuggets, Rockets, Lakers, Spurs, and Timberwolves? I guess the Warriors.
I think the Warriors are going to bounce back. And I actually think the Spurs now, Wemby's out 2 to 3 weeks. Castle's out 1 to 2 weeks. They're already without with Harper. So I think the Spurs are going to come back down to earth. And I think Golden State will probably take the 6th spot. San Antonio will drop into the play-in. But that top 6 or 7 is to me the 6 or 7 teams to take seriously in the Western Conference. The issue for the Lakers right now is that looking at what OKC, Denver, and Houston are all doing from a point differential and net rating perspective is like, I mean, everyone's focusing on OKC, and rightfully so. But Denver right now, statistically, is like in that conversation for best team of all time in like a regular season perspective. Now, not record wise, but like they're beating teams by 12 points per game, which is a very elite, like that is 72 Bulls. I mean, 96 Bulls, 72 wins, like level point differential. So the problem for the Lakers right now is that there's 3 monsters in the West who are basically blowing everybody out on a nightly basis. And the Lakers have a lot of close wins where they're eking by. So for example, like they're basically tied record wise with Denver and Houston, but Denver's beating people by 12 points a game. Houston's at 11.5. Lakers are just at 3 points per game. So that's a massive gap between the Lakers and Houston and Denver. So,
but those guys are way healthier, right? Than the Lakers.
Those guys are healthier, right? And I think Denver now, they just lost Christian Brown. That's going to, I mean, we already saw them lose to Chicago. That's going to
How long is he out?
He's out 6 weeks. He's out for a while. Yeah.
Well, that's significant.
Then Houston, I think the offense is probably going to come down a little bit. So the Lakers are going to make up some of that ground. I just think, for me right now, they're probably the 4th best team in the West unless they make a trade. I still think that 5th starter / closer spot is the spot I would look to upgrade of. I don't think it's like Rui Hachimura doesn't give you enough defense. Marcus Smart doesn't give you enough offense.
Oh, yeah, Smart cannot make a shot.
To combine those 2 guys to have a baby and that guy be the 5th person, that's who you'd want. But right now, I think like Rui's not a wing stopper and Smart is not a reliable shooter. So that's the hole in the team
have you drilled down on this? Could you find anyone that someone would take for those 2?
I have some thoughts. Right, so I think there's even a path to not necessarily having to trade either one of them and potentially just moving them to the bench. And so you got the expiring contracts of Gabe Vincent and Maxi Kleba that combines to about $22 to $23 million. You got Dalton Connect, who has 1 more year left at $4 million. Then you have 1 tradable 1st round pick, 1 2nd round pick, and a few pick swaps. I think the top 3 that are all ambitious, and they could all range from being not available to like semi-available, depending on how things play out here over the next 1 to, we'll say 2.5 months. I think the best guy would be Herb Jones in New Orleans. And looking at New Orleans, 2-12, They're going nowhere. Now they don't control they don't have their own pick because of the Derek Queen trade and one of the worst recent trades in
Oh
NBA
yeah, that's
history.
right. That was
That
yeah.
was an insane trade. But Herb Jones, I think, would check basically every box of what the Lakers would need from that fifth guy. He's a little bit of a shaky shooter, but he is having a good shooting season, and he's got some injury concerns, but I really like him. Then, to a lesser degree, Andrew Wiggins or Dylan
No,
Brooks are two
no.
guys
Oh
who I
hell no,
really.
Dylan Brooks. I'm not giving
Dylan
up.
Brooks is averaging 20 points a game this year. It's a hot start. It's unsustainable, but like I think both of those guys are defensive upgrades over Rui. And I think Wiggins is just better on both sides of the ball than Rui.
Yeah.
Brooks is not the shooter that Rui is, but he is. Yeah, I think they're similar levels of offensive players, but better defenders.
So you'd have to give
Uh,
up the one for Herb Jones, right?
yes, I think you'd potentially have to give up the one for all those guys, and that's why
Oh,
I'm less sold on Wiggins and Brooks because of that potential cost. But Herb Jones, I would do it in a heart. Like I'm giving up Rui in the first if you could swing Herb Jones. Like I think that's a no brainer.
yeah, they might actually do that. They have nothing on that roster, and they got to move Zion here pretty soon, right?
That yeah,
But
I think I think if I'm New Orleans, the on the flip side of this, I'm looking to move Zion or
Trey
DeJounte
Murphy
Murray
probably has a
or
lot of value, or do they keep Trey
or
Murphy?
Jordan Poole. I think excuse me, Murphy is someone that I would want to keep. I mean, to be honest, I'd want to keep Herb Jones too. I'd probably look toward the future of Fears. I really like Jeremiah Fears,
Yeah,
Trey
he's
Murphy,
nice.
Herb Jones, and Derek Queen, and like that quartet would be the four guys I'd want to keep. Then everyone else is available for the right price. But I mean, there was a report over the summer that they were looking for 1 to 2 good young prospects and 2 picks for Trey Murphy. And that's the price. The Lakers are not
No,
in the
hell
mix
no.
for that. And like, I don't know how many teams are going to be in the mix for
It's
that.
interesting. So I'm looking at the standings now, and this is why this point differential is so inflated. There's some real dog shit teams, bro. The Nets are 2-12, Washington 1-12, Pacers 1-13, Pels 2-12. Like the bottom is really
The
bad around
bottom
the
of the
league.
league is horrible.
Yeah,
Like the bottom 6 to 7 teams right now are, to your
abysmal.
point, absolute
Now I wonder if
dog
they
shit.
start tanking, not tanking, but like, hey, let's play our young guys starting now. Because the draft coming up is really sick for like the top 5 guys are going to be really good. I'll just run through a couple guys. Is there any world where Jaren Jackson lands in the lap of the Lakers, or do the Grizzlies keep him in build and try to dump Morant?
I think they try to dump Morant before moving on from
Do you
Jaren
think there's
Jackson.
any takers for Morant anywhere?
I also think with Jackson, I don't think I think the Lakers probably have to include Reeves in that, and
Oh,
that's a whole
hell
other
no.
discussion, right? I mean, you're not getting Jaren Jackson for Rui and a first round pick. I just don't think that's anywhere close to like you'll get more if you have
How about
an
Rui,
actual.
Smart, and Connect? No, I'm kidding.
Nah. So
he's good.
I
He's
mean,
good, though.
there's a like I would like him longer term with Luka. I think he's obviously a defensive player of the year or former defensive player
He's
of the year.
always hurt though, too.
The injuries and I would say the rebounding. The rebounding has been a real issue with him where he's too off. Like rebounding and foul trouble are the two things where he's constantly in foul trouble in games you don't want him to be in. And even go back to like Team USA with his stint there, like I thought that really hurt that team was just his inability to rebound, like for whatever reason.
And
That's
he's
just
like
a big flaw in his game.
6'10", 6'9", something like that.
Yeah,
He's huge.
he's huge. He's just
How are you a
doesn't
great
rebound.
shot blocker, but you can't get freaking rebounds?
I
Bad.
don't know.
Now the Mavericks, I was saying there's no way the Mavs would do a deal with the Lakers after the Luka trade. That being said, Nico Harrison's gone. I don't know. Is there anyone on the map? I'm seeing a lot of Lakers like, hey, if they buy out Klay Thompson, he lands with the Lakers, and I'm just like, it feels like a long shot. He's struggling, but is there a world where Derek Lively or Gafford somehow gets to the Lakers?
I think it's unlikely. I think there are 3 teams very unlikely to make a trade with the Lakers, and that would be Boston, the Clippers, and the Mavericks, right? Like Boston and the Clippers, it's personal. They hate the Lakers. They do not want to help the Lakers. With Dallas, it's like I don't know how you can. Now, actually, I think if we want to galaxy brain this, we can flip it and be like, maybe you win back some Mavericks fans by helping Luka win his first title. Now, it wouldn't be with Dallas,
Right.
but
Yeah,
if you say,
right.
hey, we're gonna give Luka, Gafford in Washington or Gafford and Christie or something, and help propel the Lakers to a title. You're like, hey, we did we did the prodigal son a favor
Yeah,
here. But
we helped him
in
out.
all seriousness, I just don't see how Dallas can turn
Hmm.
around and do another trade with the Lakers. Like it's I think some fans would probably like welcome it and be happy about it for Luka. Some fans would riot again and be like, we can't continue helping LA.
Yeah. Sometimes you look to the bad teams with bad owners. Kings seem like they're already going young.
Yeah.
I listen. I like Malik Monk. Always have loved his game. Dennis Schroeder seems like he could be readily available. I don't know what he's got left in the tank. There's no defense from that guy. And then of course there's Zach LaVine, who I love dearly. I'm a huge fan of his work. But are they going to ask for the world for Zach LaVine? I can't imagine they would, right? But Lakers probably
I,
can't afford him.
I think that the contract is tough. And then even looking at just already, I think the biggest knock or concern with a LeBron, Austin, Luka trio is the defense. And then if you add in Zach LaVine to that, I think now you're just praying that you can outscore teams, which maybe you can with that collection of talent, but like you do need to defend at a certain level. The guy I like in Sacramento, actually, who flies under the radar a bit, is Keon Ellis.
Oh, they're not giving him up. The kid from Alabama?
Yeah, but I mean, if Dalton Connect in a second, can I sell you on that? Or
I like Dalton Connect, but I would do it for Keon Ellis.
The Kings do make some decisions where you're like, I don't really know what the process is behind this. So I think I also think there are we could go down the list of like Sacramento, Portland, San Antonio. I think there are several teams that just have not tended to trade with the Lakers or want to support the Lakers' success, going back to like some of the rivalries they had with those teams in late 90s, early 2000s. Like when was the last Lakers Kings trade? I can't remember off of the top of my head. I think
it's a new era. Come on.
New era, but we'll see. I mean, they control their picks, so they might be a team that it makes more sense to just tear it down to the studs and move forward tanking. It's just Vivek has tended to try to Vivek's at the poker table. He's tripling down, he's quadrupling down. Like he's trying to spend his way out of the situation rather than acknowledging like this era ended right after 2023. They had the nice season, but they just has not been the same since then.
Let me look up Keon Ellis. Ooh, he is it's the end of his contract. He's going to want to get paid. Oh, so maybe there's something there. Dalton Connect in a two?
Maybe, yeah. I mean, I would do that if I'm the Lakers. That might not be enough for Sacramento. The Lakers are in a tough spot because they only have 1 second-round pick and 1 first-round pick. And like going back to last season, they were able to keep their first-round pick and save it for the Luka trade, but then give up 3 second-round picks for DFS. They don't have that same pick flexibility this year because of just the current constraints. So they are in a tricky spot where it's almost like you either offer a second, which isn't the best sweetener to a deal, or you have to overpay and offer the first, which obviously it's got to be a certain caliber of player to offer the first. So they are in a little bit of a tough spot with the assets.
By the way, you mentioned DFS. I totally forgot about him. Remember how Laker Nation was so rattled when they lost him? I just looked. He's on the Rockets, right?
He is.
Yeah, I got to ask because he hasn't played a game. Like, come on, that guy's old. All right, we'll wrap up with this, Jovan. I'll just say the name and you just tell me, your thoughts. Giannis.
I not right now. Maybe that's an off-season possibility
but doesn't his price go down if he gets to the offseason? Because it takes a lot of teams out of the mix. If you're Detroit and you're like, holy shit, we could win the East. We could go to the NBA Finals. Let's go get Giannis. Don't you try it now?
So were you talking specifically Lakers or just in general?
Well, I was thinking Lakers, but
Lakers, I think
they would
it's
have
tough
to be off season. I don't know how they get
that's going to require Austin Reaves, right? Like there's no way you're not getting Giannis without Austin Reaves. Lightning doesn't strike twice for the. I mean, maybe it does. It's the Lakers, but
Max Christie. No, just.
And also, yeah, I mean, they're trading Rui and Gabe Vincent. Like, I mean. Bucks fans would probably burn down Fizzard for him.
Maybe Nico Harrison becomes a consultant for the Bucks now.
The Lakers do get access to three tradable first round picks on draft night of 2026. So there could be a draft day trade, not necessarily for Giannis, but that could be when they potentially strike a bigger move if they are looking to make a bigger move. Is they go from 1 tradable pick to 3. So that could be where. Do you package in Austin Reaves and 3 picks? Now, technically, because he's about to be an impending free agent, it's it's tough with the contract matching. So he probably would have to re-sign. Then you'd have to wait into the season when he's on a bigger contract. So I'm skeptical of the Giannis thing. It sounds like he wants to go to New York if he leaves at all. So I would put the favorite for now, him staying in Milwaukee, and then the second, clear favorite would be him going to New York. Remember, his family moved to Greece, so going from Milwaukee to New York and closer to Greece. Milwaukee to LA, you're going further from Greece. So I think just from that perspective, like if he goes anywhere, I think New York would make a lot of sense.
So what do you see a team like Detroit saying, hey man, we're going all in. We want the title this year. We're going after Giannis. Does he have a no trade clause?
I don't think so. No.
Interesting. Well, I mean, what if they pony up 4 first-round picks and
that could be an option.
that's not
they're a team I actually really like for Lauri Markkanen in Utah. Like he's just toiling away there. He's having a career year. Utah's punching above their weight, as we saw in that first half against the Lakers. They're 5-9. I thought they were going to be the worst team in the West. They're clearly not. They're at worst, they're the third worst, but they might even be fourth or fifth worst. And he's having an all-star caliber year. And if you but he's never played in a playoff game. That's the crazy thing with Lauri is like for as good as he's been, and he's broken out for been all-star level guy for multiple years, but he's never played in a playoff game, and that's not his fault. But there's obviously a limitation to him being your best player. But if you get him in Detroit, where Cade for my money is now playing like I think he's a back end MVP candidate where he told me he's fourth or fifth on your ballot. I don't think that's crazy. No. And then Jalen Duren is looking like an all-star. They're on an 11-game win streak, number 1 in the East. You add Lauri to that, depending on the price, that's a team that I think could be potentially the favorites in the East. And then now you're playing OKC or Denver or whoever in the finals, like you're going to be the underdog, but if you could win the conference, that's obviously a successful season. So I think Detroit is a player where if I'm them, I'm trying to keep. I mean, I'm keeping Cade and I'm keeping Duren and I'm fighting hard to keep Osar Thompson, and everybody else is tradable. All the picks, all the players, and then see like who you could get. But yeah, if you added Giannis or Lauri to that, I would trade him. Like he'd be fourth on the list for me, right? I'd fight to keep those 3, and then. Yeah.
Wow. All right. Good stuff. Jovan Buha. Follow him on social media. He's at all the good Laker games. Are you going to the Christmas Day game?
I'm 50-50 right now because fun fact, Christmas is my wife's birthday.
Oh, so you can't miss that.
Now, before I had the excuse of working for The Athletic, I had to be there for work. Now it's a little bit less justifiable. So I'm 50-50. I will be watching it and I will be going live. Whether I will be there is TBD right now.
Yeah. Understood. All right, buddy. Have a good one, man.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks.